Hi, thanks for tuning in on a special episode of Rick's Referrals, where I introduce you to members of our community. As always, I'm your host, real estate agent Ricky Nystrom, and today I am joined, quarantine joined by Mr. Andy Isaacs over at Farmers Insurance. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody watching.
So let's go a little bit of background to start with. Kind of what attracted you over to Farmers Insurance and insurance in general?
What brought me to Farmers really is start off with being the name and the reputation that came with the name. After that campfire, everything really changed on being insurance and what Farmers represents and who Farmers represents. And I've been personally with Farmers Insurance well before. I've only been with the agency for a little under a year now, but I've been with Farmers for 9 years. And what I got out of Farmers even before even working there was the customer service was really, really top notch, and who I had with me as my agent, I trusted them. And it's actually Brad Jacobson, who's been around for a really long time, and 18 years or so. So, and just really, I don't know what to say after that.
Yeah, that's perfect. And right now there's so many competition with anything that we do, especially with online, that service, I always say, make it a service and not a transaction. And that kind of really sounds like what you guys are bringing to the table with insurance, which is great.
That's right.
So what kind of services does Farmers Insurance offer?
Yeah, that's another. We offer, a ton of different services. Obviously the main ones, we have auto, home, umbrella insurance, commercial insurance, and life insurance. So with auto, everybody pretty much knows auto insurance and home insurance as well. I know that's your world. And, and with along that comes with that is umbrella insurance. With umbrella insurance, what that is it exceeds your limits on your auto and your home. So say if a severe accident happens, somebody seriously hurt, injured, killed, anything that you don't have your limits for, and say you have $250,000 or $500,000 in limits, the umbrella is another $1 million or $2 million policy that covers on top of that. So it's pretty much an umbrella that goes over the top of your home and auto. It's kind of a no-brainer, honestly, for me. It's really inexpensive for what you get to have that peace of mind, to have an additional $1 million or $2 million in case something really seriously happens, then you'd be covered and it won't be,
No, absolutely. And I know that's so important. I know you have your girls and your wife to look after. I've got my son. So, really being able to sit down and make sure that the coverage and the insurance is adequate for who you're speaking with, for sure. And, touching back on the home insurance, I know all of my clients that I go through, I always have them get a quote from you, because I know you do top-notch service. And just a second look, it doesn't have to be the cheapest, but I want them to have the best, So
that's right. Yeah. That's right. And with that, and to be honest, with Farmers, we're not going to be the least expensive, and we're not the most expensive either. So, which is nice about Farmers, but you get the service and you pay for the service. To be able to sit down with an agent and to really go over everything and say, what does this do? What does this line even mean? Nobody likes insurance except for insurance agents. Nobody wants to sit down and talk insurance. Whether it be auto or home or life or your commercial, it's like the last thing on everybody's mind, but it's something that you have to have. And if you don't have adequate insurance, when something does happen, that's when it gets hard. And that's when, you really wish you had somebody. Like I was saying back when, I've had insurance, and Farmers Insurance for 9 years because of Brad and who I had. And I trusted him with everything. I have life insurance on me and my wife and even on my girls, and I can go into life in a little bit because that's kind of the main topic right now. But as far as after the campfire, we had checks in hand 2 weeks after the campfire up there. And I know a lot of people are still even fighting it. We still get phone calls on, people still trying to fight to recoup all that money. And we had, literally max paid limits. It was a crazy circumstance, of course, but it was, checks in hand in 2 weeks so they could hopefully help and move on, and try and get them relocated and set up again. We max paid all of our limits. Our agency alone in Chico paid out over $200 million, just our agency. So they didn't go out and do a bunch of questionnaires and itemizing like you heard. It was just, all right, it was a catastrophic loss. Let's just, cut our losses. Let's help these people out. And that's why I picked Farmers too. I mean, I came in after the fire and I could have went anywhere. I could have went to any other agency really, but I picked Farmers because of what they already, set up and how I saw how they were already working and doing all this. And I had them because I trusted him. I trusted my agent. And it just goes back to getting to know them. I mean, that's one thing that, obviously you do. Something that I do is, I really love to sit and get in front of people and let them get to know who I am. And instead of just a 1-800 number over the phone, that, every time you call, you get a different person, you get somebody else. You don't even know if they give you the right information, So, but with me, we can really sit down and talk about it and go over everything. I don't, sugarcoat it. I don't blow smoke. I don't add stuff that you don't need. And I don't leave off anything that I personally don't have on my own policies, because that's how I write them. I write them like your family or a friend. And whether I just met you, I've met a lot of people already. I've met a lot of new friends that I keep in contact outside of work, just from them coming into my office and sitting down to get a home policy. And now we're talking about life insurance or commercial insurance, So, there's just a lot that plays into it, a lot of different type of policies that play into it. And we can probably break down different policies and at different times. But another one is commercial. Even just in commercial, we have auto, general liability, your workers' comp. And with workers' comp, pretty much that's a set bar across the board for workers' comp, but it's just who's going to give you the best rates. And in retail, real estate, and restaurants, Farmers is really, really big on having really competitive rates on that. So that's another one.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point too, being in front of people. I know both you and myself are, we're social butterflies there. So,
Yes.
Love being in front of people, love sitting down with people. So, right now with the quarantine, we're just kind of navigating through, it's a little bit hard to make that connection over the phone, but luckily we've got some tools and stuff to kind of get us through. I know we're both in essential jobs right now, that whatever we can do to help, for sure.
Very much so. So another thing I want to touch on it, and I talked briefly about it a little bit ago, was the life insurance, because I know that's a big concern right now. I mean, obviously with everything going on with COVID-19 and it's just bringing up more and more questions and more concern for people. I mean, a lot of stuff is going on right now where people are starting to really put that on the forefront instead of just the back burner of, life, I know, I need it, I should get it, I'll get it one day. Now we're getting a lot of phone calls on it and saying, hey, how does this work? What do I need to do to get set up? What types of life insurance is there? So there's, as a real quick, I won't get real deep into life insurance, but there's two types. We call them a term and a perm. So a term is like, it's going to be just for a set amount of term, pretty low cost. It's just to cover if anything were to happen for either a 10-year, a 20-year, or a 30-year period. That's going to be kind of like what we call renting versus owning, and where the perm is going to be owning. You own the policy, it has cash value. So at the end of your term policy, going back, it's at the end of that 10, 20, or 30 years, if nothing happened, hopefully, heaven forbid if it did, but if nothing happened, you don't get anything out of that policy. It was just a safety net in case. That's why it's pretty inexpensive. And then with the perm, that's your permanent whole life. And what that has is it has a death benefit, but it also grows cash value. So you can do stuff with that cash. You can, pull it out at any time. I personally have them set up on my girls already. I set them up when they were 2 weeks old because I sat down with Brad and, 9 years ago, he's like, hey man, this is what you need to do. You need to get these policies enforced, because not that you want them for obviously the death side, but you do them for the growing, and growing the cash out of them and being able to pull that out and not have any tax penalties, no tax, it's not even deferred. Like, it's all gone in, kind of like a Roth. So it's kind of like a Roth with life insurance, with a death benefit is kind of how they work. But, the rule of thumb is to have 10 times your annual income. So I know a lot of people are asking me right now of, hey, I want life insurance. How much should I get? How much coverage do I need? And the rule of thumb with us is 10 times the amount of your annual income. So if you make 50,000 a year, then you should get 500,000, because if you get a 50 or $100,000 policy, and something happens to you, one, it probably won't pay off all of your debt. I mean, for me here, for our home, if something happened to me and I had a $100,000, it wouldn't even cover the house or our bills and all that, and then my wife would have to immediately go right back to work. So you want to have enough to pay off your home, pay off your cars, pay off everything that you would need, to at least help them get through for the next 5 years, 10 years, really is kind of how it breaks down. So it pays everything off. They don't lose the home and everything and uproot, in the course of all the terror. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And yeah, it wasn't until I started getting into, the real estate industry, and obviously we all have a relationship in this industry, that I even knew about the term versus perm. Early 20s, you're not really thinking about that unless you're set up with somebody that really cares about you and talks to you about what's going on. Did they set you up? I wish my son would have been set up at 2 weeks too. Like, he's 11 now. That that would have been beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was saying back to Brad. I mean, when I sat down with him and he said, "Hey, Andy, I know I was 24 at the time. My wife was, 22 at the time, and we're talking life insurance for us." And like you said, nobody ever talks life insurance or even thinks of it. It's always, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need that right now. But we set them in place just in case something were to happen. Once we had our daughter, it shifted gears and everything changed. So we put those into place, and then we put hers into place, and for the future of, when college comes, you can pull out for the college. If she needs a down on a car, you could pull it out, all the way up to a down on a home. Or if she doesn't touch it till she retires, she'll have a big chunk of financial money in there that's all hers, and there's no taxes on it. So once we saw that and saw the figures that it can actually potentially grow, we did them on all of our girls, because that was the best thing to do. And we just set it up as a normal monthly payment, and and don't even tell them about it. Just leave it there until they're ready to buy a home or retire. So
right. No, I love it. It's great information. Thank you for all that. Do you have anything else you'd like to add while I've got you here?
Right now, I just want to give thanks to everybody that's out there working right now. I mean, I know a lot of us are able to work from home, but the frontline people, I mean, even the grocery store people, real estate people, my wife is a nurse, and all of them, I thank them all right now for what they're doing to even keep us moving and keep us going. That's all. I want you guys to all stay safe out there, and stay home if you can, because the faster we get through this, the faster we get through this. So that's all I got.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. And again, I'd like to thank everybody watching this for tuning into another episode of Brick's Referrals. If you have any insurance questions, auto, home, life, I will have Andy's contact information below. If you have any questions about what's going on in real estate right now, I'll have my information below as well. Thank you so much. Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.